It turns out C language has a rich set of standard functions. So these functions are responsible for carrying out a set of logic, right? So usually a function like this takes a set input, which gives you an output. But all of the manipulation, the logic, that sets in between inside this function is all self-contained. So that's what we meant by functions here. So C language turns out to have a list of these functions. There's also a very huge set of functions that are responsible for manipulating characters. As you know, character string is a very integral part of programming. C99, right, has two parallel sets of these functions, and a lot of times you see them in C type and also WC type. WC type is for white characters, so mainly if you're just dealing with standard ASCII characters, which is 128 characters in there. There's also extended ASCII table as well. So these characters are by and large what you see on your keyboard. So we'll go over these, what those functions are, and these functions typically returns a true or false. So it's Boolean, okay, true or false. So we can make use of these functions to carry out a lot of things, like checking to see if the characters, for example, is a space, checking to see if this particular character is uppercase or lowercase, is a digit, is it a control characters and things like that. And then we get into the classification programs in there to illustrate some of the specific examples. This is a tree structure that basically takes a whole set of characters. You can think of these characters, let's just say for the sake of this illustration, whatever you have on your keyboard, right? So if you look at your keyboard, it's got English alphabet A to Z. There's also a digit, right? 0 through 9. There's also a whole bunch of control characters like tab, right? Cap log, shift, control, returns, and things like that. And there's also space, right? Which is that the space keys. So if you were to break this down, you will see a whole bunch of control characters. So these control characters could be like a new line, right? Carriage. It could also be tab, right? So these things, there are characters with the backslash, right, in front of it. Aside from these control characters, there's a whole bunch of printable characters, stuff that you see on your console if you print them, like 1, like pound, right? Like question marks, right? Ampersand sign, like the digit 8 or lettered, A, right? Capital letter or small letter K, like that. And of course, once you have a set of printable characters, they can also be broken down into space, right? Which is this empty space that has nothing in it. And then the other parts are all graphical. Then you can further break them down into alphanumeric or punctuations, alphabet digits, and then with respect to alphabet, there's also uppercase, right, to a lowercase, right? So there's that. So digit would be 0, 1, right, all the way through 9 and stuff like that. Okay, so this is a general breakdown of the standard characters that you see on your keyboard. So it turns out there's a whole bunch of these classifying, we call it classifying functions. Whether they're classified or not, it's not important. Just remember that this one all carries is, right, in front of it. So this is the name of the function or routine or procedures that you see in C++ with is, right, in front of it. So this is a set of Boolean, okay, function. So what does that mean? So these functions, right, returns either true or false. Is this control character, right? Is this a control character? Yes or no? Is this a printable character? Is a no? Is this a space? Yes or no, right? And so on and so forth. So if you remember that the tree structure we're talking about, on the very bottom, we also have this alphabet group, right? This alphabet also has its own corresponding classifying function called is, right? Alphanumeric. Is this alphabet alphanumeric? Or is this simply a control structure with a whole bunch of spaces that are not alphanumeric? Alphanumeric means this could be a combination of A to Z with 0 through 9 embedded in it. So this could be uppercase, lowercase c. So that's what it means by alphanumeric. Is this graphical character, does it have punctuations? Right? So you can make use of these class variant functions to perform a lot of things. We'll look at some of the specific examples next. Of course, when we get to the lower part of your tree, when we're dealing with alphanumeric characters, then we can check to see its casing, right? Uppercase, lowercase. Is it capital A? Is it lowercase a? Is this a digit, right? So for example, this is not a digit, right? This is a chart that represents an alphabet A, but not a digit, which is 0 to 9. It has a decimal digit, right? It's an octodecimal. We don't really use this a lot, but these classifying functions are very important in lots of solutioning involving characters. This is a demo of an ASCII chart and how we manipulate ASCII charts, making use of these standard functions involving C type, right? So this is the ASCII, right, character set. So you will import this in C, and then it will ask a user to enter a character, right? So basically, at prompt, you would enter anything from your keyboard, and this information will then be sit inside this variable called chart integer, right? Chart inputs, right? And this chart input would be the one that that you would use as input to these standard functions. You would enter this, right, using this as input. And the standard function usually carry is something, right? Will then give you either a true, right, or false as a return. Okay, so let's look at the next page. So this one shows you a whole bunch of lower level character functions that come standard with C type, right? .h. The first one is lower, right? Is this a lowercase or not, right? Based on what you just entered. Is it uppercase, right, or not, based on what you have. As you can see, these classifying functions, it's built into your multi-right selections. So instead of using if, you can also have switch case, but switch case evaluates, right, to these case statements. But given these all Booleans, right, so Boolean gives you either 1 or 0. It's very hard, right, to build this into a switch case. So in that case, you use a whole bunch of if, right, else if statement to perform these operations. So we just talked about what those are. There's specific API documentations, application programming interface documentations for C that you can look into. They're all part of C type, okay, .h. So you may look into it and to see for yourself.